Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
Yeah, it is done, man.
Yes. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one directory called modules. Okay. So inside day 3, I'm going to create one directory called modules. All right. And then what I'm going to do in this, just I'm going to place this particular script. Okay. ge underscore utils.py is there, right? Okay. I'm just going to place this, take cut, and then just paste this over here. Okay. All right. So now let me open call underscore g underscore utils.py. Okay. See, now I have moved ge underscore utils.py to one directory called modules. Okay. Now if I execute this one, I will be getting an error saying no module named ge underscore utils. Okay. So in this case, what we have to do, that is, now these two files are present in two different directories. Okay. So in this case, what will happen is, that is, whenever any module is imported, okay, that particular module will be searched in the following directories in the same order. Okay. First one in the current directory. So your current directory has the highest priority among all the other directories. Okay. So consider the module which you are going to import is present in current directory as well as in some other directory. Okay. So only your current directory file will be imported because current directory has the highest priority when compared to all the other directories. Second, from the Python home, that is, Python home is a thing, but wherever you have installed Python, the users, something will be there, right? Python home is nothing but wherever the python.exe file is present. Okay. So directory that contains your interpreter file. Okay. Python.exe file. So this will consider, that is, next it will be searched in your Python home directory /lib, where it contains all the core modules which are installed by default. And then you will be having Python home lib/site packages, and it contains the modules, okay, which are installed by users using pip. And then third way, that is, these are all predefined modules. These two directories will contain your predefined modules. But what we have to do for our modules, that is user defined libraries, we have two different ways to do that. One is temporary change. Okay, one is temporary change That is, we have to modify sys.path variable. Okay, there is a variable called path in sys module. We need to modify that particular variable. Let's see that. Let's say print something like this. Okay, and then I'm going to say import sys. There is one library called import sys, and then let me just print, okay, sys.path and then type of sys.path. Okay, let me say len of sys.path. Okay, so sys.path is a list variable. All right, so it contains how many elements? Let's see. Contains len of sys.path directories. Okay, all right. So now let me print one by one. For path in sys.path, let me print path. Okay, and then let's see the output. So you can see here that is sys.path is a list variable and it contains 11 directories in my system. It will be differing. Okay, so it will be different. It will be different in your system. All right, because I have Anaconda Python, Python 2.7, so many things I have. All right, so now you can see, okay, now you can see your current directory has the highest priority. This is my this is our directory, right? D trainings Python underscore GE July 2020 underscore 2 day 3. That's why in our previous execution this module was getting imported. That was the reason. All right, and then we have lot of directories here. So whenever, okay, whenever I import any module, that particular module will be checked in all these directories. If it is found, it will be imported. If it is not found in any of these directories, it will throw the error. Okay, so now what I have to do is, let me take a module directory variable. Okay, over here I'm just going to give module underscore directory is equal to, okay, let me take the path. Okay, let me take the path or prefix with this slash modules. This is my modules directory, right? That is under day 3 I have one more directory called modules. So now what I'm going to do, so this is a list variable. See, you can see sys.path is a class list. Now I am going to add this module underscore dir to that list variable. So let's say sys.path dot insert 0 comma module dir. Okay, now I have added the directory where the module is present. Okay, directory where the module is present. Okay, so over here, so now if I execute, you can see it is getting imported now, because in sys.path, okay, this thing is added. See here, this particular directory has been added. So from there it is taking that particular module. Okay, and then you can see the output over here. Got it, Ajmal?
Yes, Mohan. Got it.
Yeah, so now this change is just temporary. That is, for example, if I say Python in the command prompt and if I try to import, okay, if I try to import the same module outside this particular script, I'll be getting the same error. See here, no module named. Okay, so this is just the temporary change. Okay, now let me just comment this out. Okay, so now if I execute it, what will happen? I will get a error. Correct? I will get a error now. See here. So now what I'm going to do, let me discuss the permanent change. That is, you have to create a environmental variable called Python path, and then you have to place all the directories where it contains the modules. So how to create this environmental variable? So search for env, and then you can see edit the system environmental variables. Okay, 1 second. I will share my entire screen. Okay. Now I'm saying env. So now you can see edit the system environmental variables. You're able to see, right, Ajmal?
Yes, I'm able to see.
Yeah. So click that. Then you can see environment variables. Click that. Okay. So if you have installed Python in users directory, just create the variable here. Say new and then give Python path and the directory. Okay. Or else what you can do is you can just create Python path under system variables. Okay. Say new, say Python path, okay, say Python path, and then add that particular directory. Okay, let me just copy the directory now. Let me copy this directory. Okay, so if you want to add more directories, you can just say semicolon and then add another directory. So basically dir2 semicolon dir3, and then you can add any number of directories here. Okay, and then say okay here, okay here, okay here. So now what will happen if I execute the script? So still I am getting the error, because if you change or if you create any new environmental variable, or if you change any existing environmental variable, your PyCharm needs to be restarted. Not only PyCharm, the command prompts, okay, and okay, command prompt and all the Python supported editors, whatever editor you use, okay, let it be idle, okay, let it be PyCharm, let it be Spider, whatever you use, you have to restart your PyCharm window. All right. So now if I try to execute the script, you can see the output Python call ge_utils.py. You can see the output now. No error now. And also, okay, and also if I try to import anywhere, it will work. See, if I say ge_utils, you can see it is working fine. So it is nothing but the permanent change. Clear, Ajmal?
Yes, Mohan.
Yeah, basically you need to create the environmental variable called Python path, and then you have to add the directory. That's it. That is the change. Okay. So once you add the environmental variable, you have to restart your PyCharm. You want to try?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first you try this. First you create the directory, okay, called modules in the same directory, and then just copy the ge_utils.py into that folder, and then try to execute it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to add under system variable, right?
Yes. Under system variables, you can just
you
say
said
Python
that Python is installed in under user, then or any case, any scenario we can add directly to system variable, right?
Yes, the thing is, the problem here is, right, some user doesn't have permission to modify.
Oh,
That's the
okay,
reason
okay, got it, got it, got it.
Yeah.
In variable name, you can give any name, right? Or
No, Python path.
Python path, okay.
Yeah, Python path in capital letter you have to give.
Okay.
That is, environmental variable should not be
Yeah,
changed.
right, right. Yeah, it is done, Mohan.
It is working, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, superb, man.
So all the default modules, right? That and all will be still there, or we have to add here again because
No, it's not required. Only for the user-defined models we have to do.
okay,
But
okay,
default models is not at all required. That will be added by default.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, right. So next one, we are going to see decorators. So first, let me write a code, okay, without using decorators, okay, without using decorators. Right. So consider I have two simple functions. Okay, I have just two simple functions. So def calc sqr num, and then I can say sqr is equal to num star 2 and then return sqr, and then I can say calc cube of num, and then cube is equal to num star 3 and then return cube. Now let me call, okay, let me call this function. So calc underscore sqr is nothing but calc sqr of 5, and similarly I can execute calc underscore cube, and then I can say calc cube of 5. So now what will happen, that is this will call sqr function, and square of that particular number will be calculated and it will be returned. Similarly cal cube, it will call this function, and cube of this number will be calculated and it will be returned. So this is what will happen if I execute this. Okay, let's say, all right, calc sqr is 25 and cal cube is 125 actually. Right. Now consider I want to calculate the time taken by the function. Okay, I want to calculate the time taken by the function. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have import time. Okay, and then before starting the function block, I'm saying start time is equal to time dot time, and then actual function block. Then let me give some sleep, time dot sleep of 2. That is 2 seconds, the program will be in pass mode. Okay, 2 seconds, the program will be in pass mode. And then let me give end time is equal to time dot time. Okay, end time is equal to time dot time. All right. So what is the purpose of time dot time? It will return the time in terms of seconds. Okay, in terms of seconds, that is in integer. Okay, so now what can I do? I can just say difference is equal to end time minus start time. That gives a difference, right? Okay, so this is nothing but start time and end time. So I want to know duration, so end time minus start time. Okay, and then I want to round it to 2 decimal places. Okay, and then I want to concatenate it, so str of this and then plus seconds. I can say like this. Then I can just print some message saying function name took this much number of seconds. So I can say dot format of, okay, first one is a function name, right? So calc sqr dot underscore name underscore comma diff. All right, so it will print like calc sqr took this much seconds like this. So now if I execute this, you can see calc sqr took 2 seconds, 2.0 seconds. So now if I want to calculate the time taken, okay, if I want to calculate the time taken for cube, what should I do? I have to write the same set of lines of code in this, right? That is start time is equal to time dot time, okay, and then I have to write the same line of code. Okay, let's say here calc cube. So in this case, it will calculate the time for both calc sqr as well as calc cube. Okay, now you can see calc sqr took 2 seconds, calc cube took 2 seconds. So now consider you have some 50 functions in your module and you want to find the time, that is find the time taken by all the functions. So in this case, what you have to do, you have to write the same set of lines of code to all the functions, which obviously increases in the number of lines of code, right? And also if you want to make a change, you have to make the changes in all the places. Okay, that is a time consuming process, right? Okay, so for this purpose, I am going to implement the concept of decorators. Okay, let's say decorators.py, and let me copy this. Let me copy this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to define a decorators. What do you mean by decorators? Decorators are nested functions and works based on callback references. Based on callback references. That is, I will be having one outer function, that is, let's say measure time taken. Okay, I'll be having one outer function. Okay, and I'll be having one inner function, exec function. You can have any name for the functions and all. Okay, it is not mandatory that you should have the same name like this. Okay, and then you can have return, and then you can have return, right? So the outer function will take the parameter of the function reference to which the decorator has been applied. For example, if I apply, okay, decorator to this particular function, okay, now this will take the function reference, that is calc sqr reference will be passed to function by default. It is not required to pass from Rent. And then the inner function will take the reference of this particular parameter. So whatever parameter is present, that will be taken here. Okay, so now what will happen in this case? Okay, let me say return from decorator I'm giving. Okay, all right, I have just given return from decorator, and over here I have to give return exec function. That is, the inner function name should be given over here, so that the reference will be passed implicitly and this function will be executed implicitly. Okay, this function will be implicitly invoked. All right, so now what will happen whenever I execute this function? So the function flow, that is the execution flow, will go to line number 12. Okay, now it will check whether is there any decorator has been applied or not. If it is not applied, it will execute the function from here. It will go by line by line. Now consider there is some decorator has been applied. Now the function flow will go to line number 6. Now the measure time taken will take the reference of calc sqr as the parameter, and exec function will take the parameter reference of num. Okay, and then from here it will go to line number 9. That is, once this has been defined, it will go to the line number 9. So from the line number 9, again this exec function will be called. Okay, exec function will be called, and whatever statements that you have written within exec function, only that will be executed, nothing else. Okay, see here, now if I execute, I will be getting the, okay, now if I execute decorators, you can see calc SQR from decorator. I'm not seeing this one, calc SQR took 2.0 seconds and all. Okay, and similarly, if I apply decorator on this measure time taken, now you can see the output for both calc SQR from decorator, calq from decorator. So whatever you have written, that is whatever you have written in this particular function, only that will be executed. Okay, now let's see, that is, now what we have to do is, we have to write the set of statements, that is, I can say first start time is equal to time dot time. Okay, and then what we are doing, the actual function block, right? Now I can call the function from here, function of arg. Okay, that is, I have a reference here, I have a reference here, so I can just call function of arg like this. So now it will come to this and it will return something over here, right? So I can catch that particular value, that is f underscore return is equal to function of arg, and then I can copy the entire stuff and then I can just place it over here. Okay, so at this point I should have function, that is, it's a parameter, right? It's a parameter. Okay, and then I have to return what function has written, that is f underscore return. That's it. So in this, I should not, it is not required for me to have this much lines of code. I can have actual function block, that's it. Okay, so now what will happen in this case? Now what will happen in this case? Let me explain the flow again. Okay, so first I'm calling calc underscore SQR. So it will come to this point. So now it will check, is there any decorator has been applied or not. If it is not applied, it will continue from here itself. Now it is applied, so it will go to this one. Okay, so now the outer function will take calc SQR reference and the inner function will take the parameter reference. Okay, and then this function reference will be defined and it will go to line number 15 directly. So in this, it will invoke the inner function. Implicitly, the inner function will be invoked. All right, and then this will be calculated, the start time is calculated, and f underscore return is equal to function of arg. So this is the place where the actual function call takes place. Now it will come to line number 19. Okay, so it will execute these two lines and the square will be stored to f underscore return, and then end time will be calculated, difference will be calculated, this will be printed, and whatever you are returning from the actual function, that will be returned to the caller. Okay, and for calc cube, directly it will go, it will find the cube and then it will return. So now you can see the output. Why? Okay, I didn't mention sleep, right? Time dot sleep of 2. Okay, so now you can see calc SQR took 0 seconds. Why again? Oh, it should be before this, no? So now let's see. Yes, calc SQR took 2 seconds and then calc SQR is 25. But now if I want to measure the time taken by calc cube, what can I do? I can just add only one line. That's it. It is not required to add number of lines of code. Okay, I can just add only one line here. So now the time taken by these two functions will be calculated. See here, 2.0 seconds, 2.0 seconds. Ajmal, clear so far?
Yes.
Okay, so now consider I have one more function. Okay, let's
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
take the function which I have used here. Okay, that is welcome user. Okay, let's say this one. Okay, and then let me just invoke it like welcome, or else I can just say welcome of Clark and then Davis. All right, see, whatever decorator that I have written is a generic decorator. I can apply this to any function, because for any function I can calculate the time, right? So now what we can do is I can apply the decorator over here, measure time taken. Okay, now let's see what happens. Now let's see what happens. I'm getting the error saying exec function takes one positional argument but two were given. That is, this calc sqr and calcube was taking only one parameter. That's why we had given exec function of one parameter. But welcome user accepts two parameters here. But exec function is taking only one parameter. Okay, so in this case, if I want to generalize the parameters, I can write over here like star args double star kw args. Okay, so if I have okay, so if I have this kind of parameters in my decorators, I can use this decorator for any type of functions. Okay, so I can just pass this over here. So remember, right, that is any number of positional parameters, any number of keyword parameters, right? So now if I execute this, there is no error. It will be executed successfully. Okay, look at this. Calc SQR took 2 seconds, calc cube took 2 seconds, welcome took 2 seconds. Got it, Ajmal?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so please try this one. Please try this out. And then we
Okay.
will see how we can pass the parameters to decorators. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is done, Mohan.
Okay. So now let's see. So it's working fine, right, for you?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay. Okay. So now let me just create one more file. Okay. That is, I'm going to write decorators with the parameters. Okay, so I'm just going to copy the entire content, okay, to another file. So in this, if I want to have parameter for decorators, I should have 3 levels. Okay, like outer level, set delay of delay. Okay, now this is the outer level, and I'm just going to place this to the inner level. Okay, and from the outer level, I'm just invoking measure time taken like this. Okay, so now this is the name of the decorator. Always the outer function level is there, right? That is outer level function is there, right? That is the name of the decorator actually. Okay, so I can just have set underscore delay, and then I can give 1, set delay of 1, and set delay of 2, and set delay of 3. Okay, so when you have 3 levels, the outer function will take the parameters of decorators, and the next one will take the parameter of function reference, and the third level will take the parameter of the arguments. Okay, this is the hierarchy. So now I am going to use this delay over here. Okay, time dot sleep of delay, I like that. So now you can see the output. Calc SQR took 2 seconds, Why everything is too, okay. I have to execute the correct function, right? Okay, now you can see calc SQR took 1 second, calc cube took 2 seconds, and welcome took 3 seconds. Okay, calc SQR took 1 second, calc cube took 2 seconds, and welcome took 3 seconds. Okay, so when you have parameters, we should have 3 levels like this. Clear, Ajmal?
Yeah.
Yeah, so try it out. So just copy to another file and then just add one more level.
Okay.
And you have to change the name of the decorator. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know once it is done.
Sure. Can you please scroll down? Just one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not getting error, but all it is taking 2 seconds only.
So you have to change it over here.
Okay.
Time dot sleep of delay.
Okay. Yeah.
Done.
Yes, it is done.
Okay. Okay. So now we'll take just 10 minutes break. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we'll see the last topic of the day. So
Mhm.
I think everything is covered except regular expression. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see regular expression. So you have any idea on regular expression, Ajmal?
Yeah, you have a little bit idea. I mean,
Okay.
how to handle, but
Fine. No issues. So
yeah.
1 second. Let me just create a file and then. Okay. So we'll back at 4:10. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Hello, Ajmal.
Yes, Mohan.
Yes. So we'll start with it. So, what do you mean by regular expressions? So basically, regular expressions are used for pattern matching. What do you mean by patterns? That is a template of text, or we can say style information of the text. Okay, style information of the text. That is email ID, passwords, mobile number, PAN card number, Aadhaar card number, credit card number, debit card number. Okay, and any pin. All right, and error codes. Okay, and what else we can say? Like all exe files, because all exe files will be that is all executable files will be ending with .exe. So which follows the unique pattern, that is nothing but patterns basically. Okay, so that follows some unique template, we can say, that's nothing but pattern. So regular expressions are useful for pattern matching. For example, in any that is, if you want to create any account, right? So they will give you the condition like your username should contain at least one uppercase, at least one lowercase, at least one that is decimal characters underscore or dot. So like that. Okay, so those will be validated. Okay, against this this pattern only. Okay, so using this concept of regular expressions, those things will be validated. So mostly it will be useful for validation purpose. All right, yeah. Okay, Ajmal, any doubts in this?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So now if I want to implement regular expression, so we have to write, sorry, we have to import one module called RE. Okay, RE stands for regular expression. All right. So first let's write one function. This is the common function that I'm going to use for all the patterns. That is function to check the pattern. Okay, so I can say check pattern. Okay, check pattern. I can write string. Let's say input pattern is the first parameter, and then I can say input string. Then I'm going to use the method, okay, called re.search. If re.search input pattern and input string and then re.I. Okay, that is I am checking whether the pattern is present in the string or not. All right, and I am ignoring the case while searching for the pattern. See, the first two parameters are compulsory. You should pass these two parameters. Okay, this one you can avoid it if you don't need it. Okay, so if you want to ignore the case, then you can include this particular pattern. All right, and then I can say if it is satisfied, that is if the pattern is present in the string, I am just printing like input pattern, input string, and then I can say satisfied. SCP is equal to double hyphen. Okay, and if the pattern is not present in the string, I'm just saying it is not satisfied. Okay, it is not satisfied. All right, so now I'm going to get the input from the user. That is while true, string is equal to input of enter any string. If the user enters input as end in any case, okay, I'm just converting to lowercase and then I'm coming out of the loop. Okay, then first I'm going to do very simple match, that is a simple match, that is without using the pattern. I am going to use this re.search function. Okay, that is I'm going to check whether Python is present in string or not. Okay, I am going to check whether Python is present in the string or not. That's what I'm going to check it first. So let me execute Python regular expression.py. So Python script, you can see it is satisfied because Python is present. And let me enter Python. You can see it is satisfied. That is, I am ignoring the case. See, for example, if I don't have this particular parameter, let me remove this parameter, and then I'm giving the input in some capital letter like this, capital P Python. Now you can see it is not satisfied. Okay, it is not satisfied. So let me just revert it back. Let me have like re.I. All right. So if you take the concept of these patterns, right, the patterns that you are going to see, the concept of patterns is same across all the programming languages. There is no difference at all. Even a single change is not at all there. Okay, everywhere it is same. Okay, like if you take Perl, if you take PHP, shell scripting, Ruby, Python, JavaScript, and might be in Java also. Okay, everywhere the concept of regex is same, but it differs only in the way in which you are going to implement. So as part of Python, we have to import this module and then we need to use several functions. So right now we will concentrate on re.search. So later we will see 3 more functions on this. All right. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the patterns. Okay. So please take it down, Ajmal, and then we'll continue. Okay. So and then we'll start with the patterns one by one. All right.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and whatever statement that you are going to write, okay, so it should be within this loop. So don't forget the indentation. Okay, don't forget the indentation actually. Okay, it should be proper. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. So let me know once it is done.
Yep. Please scroll down, Mohan.
Yes. This might go till 5:30 or 6. It's a bit long topic. So is it working?
Just a minute, I'm executing that.
Mm. Working, right?
I'm getting some error. Okay, I got it. Yeah, it is working.
Okay. Right. Now let's start with the patterns. Okay. One after another. Right. So first one we are going to see anchors. So we have two different types of anchors. One is starts with cap symbol, nothing but starts with, and dollar symbol is nothing but ends with. Okay. So I can say check pattern, cap symbol Python, comma string. So this pattern will be satisfied only when the string is starting with Python. Okay. And next one, let me write Python dollar comma string. So this pattern will be satisfied only when the string is ending with Python. Okay. And then I can write cap symbol and then dollar comma string. This means the string should be empty. Okay, string should be empty. That is, string should not contain any characters. Only then this pattern will be satisfied. And the last combination is cap symbol Python dollar comma string. This one means string should be equal to Python. That is, apart from Python, nothing should be present. Okay, so like let's see now. Let me say Python script. So it is starting with Python. The first one is satisfied. Okay, starting with Python, first one is satisfied. And let me write script Python. Now you can see second one is satisfied because it is ending with Python. If I am not entering any input, third one will be satisfied. It's an empty string. And fourth one, if I just say Python or Python is Python, I'm just giving the input as Python is Python. So in this case, starting with Python is satisfied and ending with Python is satisfied. Okay, but now if I say just Python, you can see starting with Python is satisfied, ending with Python is satisfied, and then exact match of Python is satisfied. Okay, 3 will be satisfied in this case. See here, 1, 2, and then 3. Clear, Ajmal? Any doubts in this?
Oh, it's clear.
Clear, right? Okay. So next one is range of characters. Range of characters. So it should be given within pair of square brackets. See, in this we'll be using square brackets, parentheses, and then curly braces. But it doesn't mean we are indicating the list, tuple, and dictionary. Okay, so these square brackets, parentheses, and then curly braces has special meaning in regular expressions. So don't confuse with that, okay? Right, so now range of characters means, like for example, if I say 0 to 9, it matches any one digit between 0 and 9. And also I can give like this, 0 to 9, small a to small z, capital A to capital Z, like this. So in this case, what will happen? It will match either one digit or one alphabet, irrespective of the cases. For example, if I give space in between, now what will happen in this case? It will match either 0 to 9 or small a to small z or capital A to capital Z or a space. Okay, and then I can give like something like this, percentage, dollar, hash, at the rate of, or else I can exclamatory I can write, or else I can write some characters or some numbers like this, or some space or tab like this. So now what will happen? This will match any one character out of this. Okay, this will match any one character out of this. All right. So now let me write the pattern. Check pattern starts with 1 to 5, and then let me give some dollar underscore star. Okay, and then let me give A to E. Okay, and then at last I'm saying dollar. So in this case, what will happen? It will match only 3 characters. Okay, it will match a string which contains some 3 characters. The first character should be a number between 1 and 5. Second character should be any one special character between these 3, and last character should be an alphabet between A and E. Okay, so whenever you say square bracket, whatever characters that you are specifying within that, it will match only one character out of it. Okay, so now I can say 5
Hello.
underscore A.
Hello.
Yes.
Mohan, I think when you start CHK pattern, right? From there, I missed it because I think some internet disconnect.
Oh,
Can you
you
please?
missed it, is it? You missed it,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. No
CHK
issues.
pattern, it is. Yeah, from
Yeah,
there.
fine, fine, fine. The thing is, see here, it matches 3 characters. Okay.
Okay.
So the first character should be a number from 1 to 5. Second character should be any one of these special character, that is dollar underscore and then star. And third character should be any one alphabet between A and E. So our string should contain only these 3 characters in the same order. Order should not be changed. So now if I execute, if I say 5 underscore A, it will be satisfied. See here, because 5 between 1 to 5 underscore is present between dollar underscore and star, and A is present between A hyphen E, that is between A and E. Now if I give $1 A, you can see it is satisfied. If I change the order, let me give like this, 4 and then B. Now you can see it is not satisfied. That is, you can't change the order of the characters. Okay, you have to give in the same order where you are giving there. Okay, right? And then clear, Ajmal, now?
Only
Ajmal?
that, yes, it is clear. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, only that the first one, right, under hash, you given square bracket 0, 9, A, Z, A to Z.
Yeah.
So they will take as 0 to 9, then A to Z 1 pair, A to Z 1 pair, 1 space. Is that right?
No. This, which one? Second one, is it?
Yeah, second.
That is, it will match any one character out of a number. That is, it will match any one character between this particular range. Okay,
So
either number, either number or smaller case alphabet or uppercase alphabet or a space.
or a space. Yeah, got it.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
And next one is group of characters. Okay. So group of characters you should mention within parentheses. So whatever characters you are mentioning within parentheses should be present. See, for example, if I say check pattern starts with A, I am giving 135 and then C and then dollar like this. Okay. So now what will happen in this case is whatever you are mentioning within parentheses, okay, all the characters should be present in the same order. Okay. So now if I say the input A135 and then C, it is satisfied because whatever you mention within parentheses should be present in the same order. But for example, if I say A531 and then C, it will not be satisfied. Okay, clear? Clear, Ajmal?
Yes.
That is nothing but group of characters. And we have very important thing, that is meta characters. So this will be used for repetition cases. That is, we have three different types of meta characters. One is plus. It matches one to many occurrences of previous characters. Okay. And second one is star. Star means 0 to many occurrences of previous characters. And third one is question mark. It is 0 or 1 occurrences. This or that. Okay, plus means it matches 1 to many occurrences of previous characters. Star means 0 to many occurrences of previous characters, and question mark is 0 or 1 occurrence. So if I say, let me just have starts with A, B plus C, dollar, comma, string. Okay, so now let me give something like this: AB star C and then AB question mark C. So in this case, what will happen? Okay, first one, AB plus C. Between A and C, at least one occurrence of B should be present, and maximum any number of occurrences of B can be present. And with respect to B star, 0 to many occurrences of B between A and C, and between B question mark, so B should be present either one time or 0 time between A and C. Got it, Ajmal? So if I give outputs, or if I give some inputs, see, let me say AC. That is, between A and C, there is 0 occurrence of B. So now which will be satisfied? B star and B question mark will be satisfied, right? Star means 0 to many occurrences of previous character. Question mark 0 or 1 occurrence of previous character, right? But plus means 1 to many occurrences of previous character. For example, if I say ABC, now there is 1 occurrence of B, so all three will be satisfied. See, plus, star and then question mark will be satisfied. Now if I give the input as A, n number of B and then C, in this case what will happen? Only plus and star will be satisfied, and rest are all will not be satisfied. Okay, and in the same case, for example, consider I am placing the bracket now. Okay, I am placing some brackets here. Let's say some parenthesis and then plus, some parenthesis and then star, some parenthesis and then question mark. So in this case, what will happen? Okay, this group should be repeated from 1 to n number of times. Okay, it should be repeated like AB, 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 like that. Okay, so now if I give the input as C, that means what? Zero occurrence of AB. AB is present 0 times. Now you can see last two are satisfied. And if I say ABC, everything will be satisfied because only one occurrence. If I want to give multiple occurrence, I have to give AB, 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 and then C. You can see the first two are satisfied. Got it? Ajmal, clear?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, okay. So please take it down from here, from anchors. And don't forget, everything should be within the loop. Okay?
Yeah.
Everything should be within the loop. Yeah. So let me know once it is done. We will continue with the rest of the patterns.
Please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.